Hey, this is Sam from Shure. In this video tutorial, I'm going to talk about a feature called Auto-Enumerate, which is a quick and convenient way to name and number channels and devices in the inventory. In previous tutorial videos, we've talked about device configuration as a part of Wireless Workbench 6. It's pretty much one of the main pieces of the Wireless Workbench experience. Being able to discover or virtually specify devices and configure their properties such that when you show up at the venue or when you're live and connected to your gear, you can deploy those changes quickly and efficiently. One of the features we've talked about in previous videos is this Write Item Properties sidebar here, which is a nice way for you to select more than one channel or more than one device and make changes to all of those devices in this staged area so that you can quickly apply those changes to all devices. So when we talked about that feature before, we touched on something that had to do with naming device ID and channel name that I want to dig into a little bit more detail with, because I think it's a powerful feature, but it may not be intuitive or obvious at the surface how it works. And that feature is this auto-enumerate thing. So let me set the situation up for you. Let's say I'm prepping for a show next week. I'm not at the venue right now. I don't have the gear with me right now, but I want to build a virtual inventory of, in this case, 16 channels of Axion Digital. So I know when I get to the venue, I'm going to have those 16 channels. And in the meantime, I want to do some configuration steps to prep for that event. So I could do frequency coordination and set gain settings and all this stuff, but what I want to specifically talk about are setting the names, the device names and the channel names for these 16 devices. So, in the olden days before there was Workbench, I would have to go to the front panel of each device and use buttons and encoders to manually set the names to something logical. Gone are those days, thank goodness. Nobody misses them. And even before the convenience of the sidebar, users might need to go and, name RF1, RF, 02, channel by channel name, specifying values on a one-at-a-time proposition, which is a pain for a small amount of channels, and I would say effectively impractical or impossible for a large number of channels. I've only got 16 here, but you can imagine with something like 200 channels, that would be pretty impractical. So in order to tackle this sort of naming workflow when the desired names are sequential, we've introduced Auto-Enumerate. Let me show you how it works. So I've already named these two channels RF01, RF02, and let's say I want to continue that sequence. This is a perfect scenario when I've got a constant prefix and a numerical suffix that I want to, apply to a bunch of devices. Let me show you how that works. First thing I'll do is I'll select all the devices I want to apply that name to. I'm not going to select these first two since I've already named the channel names. Then in the right-hand sidebar, I can apply a name to them. So let's say I wanted to name them all the same thing. I would just type in whatever I want to name them with right here in the channel name field and press apply. And you can see doing that sets all of these channel names to RF-. Now that's not useful, obviously. I can't distinguish one channel from the other. So instead what I want to do is I want to use this auto-enumerate field. That might be a fancy word to some of you, but all this means is count and keep counting up. And the way that we do this feature is to check the checkbox, and now we can put numerical values here, starting with the first number that we want to count up from. Now this works a little bit specifically, and I'll demonstrate that. If we wanted to start counting up from 3, to go 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, we could enter this 3 number in here, but doing that and applying, you'll see only goes up to the number 9 and then it stops. Now there's a reason that works. The reason is that we have programmed this to be sensitive to the number of digits you want to use. So in this case, what I really want is to count up past 10 and use 2 full numerical digits. So the way that we can do this instead is to zero pad that value by putting 03 there. And you'll notice when I do that and press apply again, everything works just as expected. So I really just wanted to call out here that when you use this auto-enumerate field, you've got to specify the number of digits you want to use, and the most effective way is to zero pad or pad it in some other way. Just to demonstrate another angle of that, you don't need to necessarily zero pad things. If you wanted to start counting from 10, you could hit something like that, and applying that will count from 10 until, in this case, 25. So this same functionality works with device ID as well. So we just applied channel names to all these devices really quickly and conveniently, but if I wanted to name my device IDs, I could do the same exact thing. Let's say I want to call them AD And then I only have, let's see, I have 8 dual channels, which is 16 channels total. So I could name them with 1 digit, and we can see what that does is it names them accordingly without any zero padding, if that was the case that I wanted to do. So I just wanted to peel back some of the details about how this feature works, show you the inner workings of the logic behind Auto-Enumerate and how you can zero pad or specify the number of digits you want to apply to devices when you're using this field. I hope this tutorial was helpful. If you've got questions about this, or feature requests or ideas, or you had a bad dream and you want to talk about this feature in another context, be sure to leave a comment down below. Thanks.